must have a code that you can live by, and so become yourself, because the past is just a goodbye. I'm doing a retro video here, just covering some things that I've already actually talked about, but I had to pull some bins out because I wanted to find the poster that said Stone's Cold Right Show, and I discovered that the bins were in bad condition because of mice, and I thought, well, I'll pull them out, and I came across a lot of things that I just want to share. Sometimes, some of them are kind of silly, like the bee I made in shop class in 6th grade, and others might be silly, like the only remaining toy that I ever got and kept, which is my old Tonka toy truck. But I have some pictures and things that I want to share that are just kind of a part of my past and are just an interesting part. The first one is this one. And this is a picture of me with my grandma Burke, when I was about 4 months old. It says April of 1970, so 5 months old? 5 months old. And I got very lucky because I had a very kind and a very sweet grandmother who was about as selfless as you could get. And I say that because at the age of 54, my grandfather went blind, and he was a pharmacist, which makes it really hard to run a pharmacy. And as I remember, I was told that she got a provisional license to run the pharmacy. And in the meantime, my grandfather got very involved in the blind community in the Plainfield, Will County area. And as I was going through my box, I found this really incredible book called Trucks. And if you're wondering why it's incredible because they had gone through and put Braille on the story pages so that my grandfather could read them to us. So an amazing keepsake. I had no idea I'd kept that. If you want to know what Bobby looks like when he was a little boy, though, this was me as a little child, probably around 4 or 5. I think I was 5 years old. That was probably kindergarten. And then I have one here from when I was in 3rd grade in Miss Murphy's class. And no, the young lady next to me, Sarah, decided I was going to crop her out of that one. I don't know why. She's a sweet young lady. I think I'm friends with at least her sister on Facebook. But yeah, that was me in 3rd grade. And if you want to know what my passion was as a kid, my passion was paper airplanes. I used to love to make paper airplanes. Some of the things that I'm going to also talk about had to do with experiences that I had. And so I'm going to grab this pile right here, and I'm going to talk about the fact that I was in band. And I did that my freshman and sophomore year, actually 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And I'll talk about why I quit band in a later video. And yeah, I'm going to stop at that note. I did letter in high school. I lettered in wrestling. And, you know, the thing is, I have a lot of things from wrestling that I'm going to share. But this was my high school jacket. And I never stuck my letter on my jacket. It just wasn't important to me that I'd be seen as some sort of letterman for the school. I don't know why, I just didn't. But I was in wrestling for 6th grade, 8th grade, and then all of high school. And let's see, I think this is my 6th grade wrestling picture, and maybe I'll stick up better shots, I don't know. And this was the year that I broke the nose of the English teacher. And my freshman year in high school, I was in football. Just my freshman year. I was kind of a small guy, and frankly, by the time I was a senior, most of the guys on the football team were 180 to 200 pounds, and I think I was 150 at my best at high school. So I played football, played center, and I tried nose guard, and center and nose guard are not for a kid who's 130 pounds at the time. So football wasn't really my gig. But, you know, I did wrestle all the way through high school, and this was probably my freshman or sophomore year. But no, it was freshman year, yeah. And that came on the heels of 8th grade, where I went to state. I didn't place or do anything in state, but I did go to state my 8th grade year. I wasn't a fantastic wrestler. It didn't really mean a lot to me to beat people. I had a couple of unique matches. I pinned a guy who thought he had pinned me. But, you know, if you said, hey, Bob, you know, would you go back and do anything about your wrestling? One, I wouldn't change anything that I've been through because that would change who I am today. But I have a shoulder injury and a pinched nerve. And the first time I pinched it and then injured it was in my senior year in high school. It caused a lot of damage. And today, I'm still suffering from that. Not terribly, but it does have health effects in my life. I'm going to break for a second, get to the next set. This is one of my more unique mementos. In the summer of 1986, I went to visit a family friend in Washington, D.C., a family that my dad had grown up next to. He worked for the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. And we went to a flea market. And for some reason, I came across this, and I just had to have it. And so, literally, of all the things that you display on your walls as artwork, if you will, this is the oldest piece of artwork, artwork that I have. I wasn't an artistic kid, but I did for some reason in study hall draw this picture of the Castle of the Ringing Knight. Little musical notes up here, right? And I actually did a number of different pages, including, I got a picture here of Mrs. Pottinger, our biology teacher. I didn't pay much attention in class. And then I have this picture that I made of the House of the Rising Sun. I don't know why I did any of these pictures at the time, but I did. One of my favorite keepsakes was this apron. And this apron comes from Nabby's in Plainfield, Illinois, where I worked at for 3 years, and I made pizzas. I don't know if I'm going to get that whole thing in the picture, but I think so. Yeah, I made pizzas there for a couple of years. And to this day, I still make my own pizza and pizza dough. And I'm really happy about that because I love to cook. And working at Nabby's was a fantastic experience. I did dress up for beach day my senior year, probably. I think it was my senior year. And I also went to a lot of dances. Yeah. I went to prom 4 times in high school, and then I went once after high school. But this picture, which I'm going to stick in with a little bit better picture right here, this picture is actually me and my friends Dustin and Josh, who were from Minooka. My girlfriend was from Minooka. But what makes this picture interesting, or these gentlemen, is that my senior year I became good friends with 3 or 4 other guys, some from Minooka, a couple from Plainfield. We nicknamed ourselves FYA as a club, Future Yuppies of America. And they were a lot of fun to hang out with because at the time, Josh looked a lot like Patrick Swayze and Dustin looked a lot like George Michael. And so we attracted a lot of attention. Like the time we went up to Ed DeBevick's and hung out. I didn't get that at that time. I got this when I went up for homecoming with my friend Anita in my senior year. She went to Lockport, but I met her at the mall, and Anita was probably one of my best friends in high school. And so after we were up there for our homecoming dinner, we were at DeBevick's. I stole the menu from DeBevick's. And DeBevick's actually closed a couple of years ago, so I have an incredible keepsake from the restaurant. I also found my dad's sheet on this. This was the first car that I ever owned. It was a 1984 Pontiac Fiero, black Pontiac Fiero stick. And it was terrible in snow, but I'll tell another story about this Fiero in just a moment when I get to the Air Force. I know I've talked about going to Boys State, and this was my name tag that I got at the end of it. And you'll see here, Burke, Bob Burke. I was the Parks Commissioner, because that's what every libertarian should be, is the Parks Commissioner for the county. I sang my junior and senior year. I was in choir, so I went from band to choir. And actually for my freshman and sophomore year, I believe, maybe my junior, maybe it was only 2 of the years, but I danced for what we call the madrigal dinners. And then my senior year, I was actually in the madrigals as a singer on the table. And we used to do a dinner with that, and I kept one of the posters for that. And then this one goes all the way back, and I mentioned that my very first musical was The Music Man. And this was the poster for that. for that event. Yeah. It was a lot of fun. I loved Music Man. Oh, we got trouble. Right here in River City. Oh, we got trouble with a capital T that rhymes with P that stands for pool. And then this was the award that I told you about that I got at my senior choir concert from the Music Honor Award for a recognition of outstanding contributions and dedication to music. As you can tell, I'm not incredibly musically talented. So if you can explain this to me someday, I'd be open to whatever that might sound like. Taking another break, getting the next pile. This is the actual photo from my basic training. And you got Tech Sergeant Bodge here and the whole group of us. I am somewhere up over here. And maybe I'll throw a better picture up here. How about that? Throw a good picture right here. And you can see maybe a little closer, probably not. But yeah, Flight 072, 3708 BMTS. And that was 16 December 1988. I was right about that date. Oh, 16 December is actually my daughter's birthday, too. And here's a picture of me as Airman Burke in my blues. And of all the things that I kept, I actually gave away most of my uniforms as I was leaving. And I did keep, however, the crest out of the cab, sitting in a box here. Those are my Air Force pieces. Hang on, I'll be right back with the next piece. And then the last couple things I've got are just some pictures. I've got some River Falls stuff too, but this is me. I'll throw it again in here a little better. This is me as a nursing assistant, my whites, working for Beverly Enterprises, if I recall correctly, at the Dorchester Nursing Home. And for that summer, I had actually bought a motorcycle in the Air Force, and my car broke down. So by the summer, the only vehicle I had was my motorcycle. And this is me and my motorcycle outside the front of my dad's house in Sturgeon Bay. And then I'm just going to share these two because they deserve to be shared. Someday this may or may not come out. One Halloween, I did make an attempt to go in drag. Didn't go very well. Maybe it did. I don't know. And then here's a picture of me in the hotel room, hanging out in New Orleans right before I leave Illinois and return to Wisconsin for the duration. I want to finish with just a couple more things here, and I know some of them will seem like I was a bit of a klepto, but this is the final failure stamp, and I'm pretty sure this is from the driver's license location in Naperville. I figured they could end final failures. The next thing I want to share is the folder for Boy State, and in particular that, you know, when you go to Boy State, they assign you to all sorts of things, and so I'm just going to throw that little bit of this front page on the inside here up, just because it'll make sense. I want to stop and I want to talk first, before we get done, about these two guys right here. These are Tom and Mike, friends of mine from the dorm when I was in the Air Force. And Mike in particular, Kelly is from New York City, so if you know, there's just a couple there, I'm sure, that are called Mike Kelly. But Mike will attest to you that I have some of the most incredible luck in cars. He and I had been chasing tail, went down to the SUNY University in Morrisville, New York, and in my car in the middle of a winter snowstorm, my little black Fiero. And as we were coming home, we're going down a hill, and we're in the Adirondack Mountains, or on the outskirts of it. And this thing slopes off hard and into a giant cavern. And so we're going down this hill in the snowstorm. And my car does a complete 360 as we're approaching a turn. And it comes back into position just in time for my tires to recatch the lane and groove around. That is as close as I've ever come to death. And Mike will agree, it was quite the moment. I did save my college ID here, which is just kind of fun. You know, you have all sorts of things that separate you and show who you were. But the last couple things were really about the time, my junior year, that me and my buddies won the intramural broomball championship. That was fun. One thing I want to say about the broomball championship, we had illegal people on the team, and nobody really seemed to care. But it also reminds me to tell you that you know, when I told the two stories about Jason and the college Democrat chair and the poli-sci class, those were actually in my junior year. And I remembered that because for him to have visited me in my room, I was living in a mobile home that we bought by my senior year. And so those were my junior year. Sometimes my dates might be off a little bit, but the events were real. Now, between my junior and senior year, however, I worked at Cherry Hills in Door County, Wisconsin, and that was a lot of fun. I played a lot of golf. And I almost forgot to mention this first, because this one is even more bizarre than most of them. This one's commercial. In the summer of my junior to senior year, I actually did an internship at Door County Memorial Hospital. And that summer, I put Door County Memorial Hospital online. And I'm not making any big claims about how great my work was, because, I mean, one, they gave me the job because I was free, and two, I knew more about web design than anybody else at that point, and so I actually put the Door County Memorial Hospital website online in the summer of 1996. The last thing I want to share is this little tape I just found. And this is actually an edited highlight tape of the Stones Cold Right show. And so I am going to try and find a tape recorder today, and hopefully I'll throw just a couple minutes of the Stone Cold Right show on the back of this video after I complete the last segment here at the end. So thanks, guys. So those are just the big pictures that I want to share, just some of the memorabilia laying around that I'm going to box up. I probably won't look at again for another 10 or 15 years. But, you know, I'm going through these stories, and of course, it's impossible to give you more than just a glimpse into who I am and what I've done. But hopefully these pictures just add some more context and some more fun information about who I am, where I was, and what I've done. I appreciate your time today, and next week I'll be back with a fresh new story. Peace.